Alrighty, guys. Gosh, how do I even start this video? So yeah, if you were in the room this week, it was not a good week for me. It was not good a week for Kellogg either. For a lot of traders that mistimed and misplayed a lot of plays this week, I think got beaten up pretty badly. Me being one of them. If you look at obviously the week, we're down. Not where I always say we're. I'm down $280,000 and lost, about $380,000 on Thursday the 16th, and coming right off of a $100,000 day on Tuesday, which I just made a video lesson about that earlier in the week. So go ahead and watch that, see how I played that. But unfortunately, we'll go in detail here, so this might be a longer video than I want, but I really want to make sure I implement or cement, I should say, whatever thing I've learned, and then hopefully you guys can learn from it too, and have it not happen to you as bad as it did to me. So, yeah, I mean, how do we start? It's just overwhelmed. So, well, first off, I want to apologize for canceling pretty much the webinar. If I can go back, I wish I would have, gotten up the energy to do it. But in the event, I mean, in the moment the webinar was supposed to start, I mean, I was just in the pits of this loss, and I could barely even think straight, let alone answer questions and be there for you guys. So I do apologize. We'll maybe do a little bit longer of a webinar maybe next week, and talk about more in detail and any questions you have beyond just what could be answered in this video. But yeah, just this loss in particular is by far the biggest and worst loss of my career, no doubt about it. It technically, if you go back to 2022 December, it's ironic that I had a day before this that was right in the high $300,000 range. However, there's a big difference with these here. This one, if you actually ended up watching the monthly recap on my YouTube channel back when I did this video in December 2022, or I guess the beginning of 2023, this loss was actually a numerous amount of trades all in one, and they were all long-term holds, right? So they were like long-term, me trying to kind of long-term invest for pretty much the entire year of 2022. If you saw what the stock market did in the year of 2022, I mean, everything, even large cap, mega cap stocks were still down 20, 30%. And the stocks I owned, went down 50, 60, 70%. And so the basket of, I think of 5 or 6 of them I had, once it came to December, I just ripped them all off, sold them all in one day, and then ergo, you get this loss. So the reason why it's different is because, one, it's not just one stock, it's multiple. 2, I saw my unrealized bleed throughout the entire year. It wasn't like I just woke up one day and saw this negative 394,000. It was like every single month I saw it bleed lower and lower and lower and lower. So emotionally, I was very getting very used to it as time went on. It's almost like, if you want to, I guess I don't even know if this is the right saying, but if you want to kill a frog in boiling hot water, you don't boil the water and throw the frog in. It's going to jump right out. What you do is you put the frog in, lukewarm water, so it doesn't even notice. It actually thinks it's like a nice bath, right? And then you slowly ramp up the heat before it's too hot and they just die. Okay, that's pretty much what this loss was, where started off investing, worked out well, was feeling good about it, and then every single month it just got worse and worse and worse. And before you know it, we get to the end of the year, and I'm like, holy crap, this is terrible. We need to get out and just essentially, in the frog analogy, die. Hence why I took a massive, nearly $400,000 day of just deciding to cut it all the trades in one. So that's a bit different. This is all in a matter of, call it 10 hours, 6 to 10 hours of the stock market moving and me trying to fight a stock that is FFIE. And so let's dive into it. I know I was not very even talkative in chat, right? Let alone doing a webinar. Like, I just didn't talk as much as I would have liked to you guys during chat. But again, it's incredible what you can do to yourself by putting yourself into this position, because I mean, my any and all energy I had was gone. I was pretty much fighting on my last limb just to even trade. It's pretty wild and impactful how it acts, and so, or treats or affects you. So FFIE, for those who weren't around, or maybe whoever might watching this video, 6 months to a year from now, or years. FFIE is something that ran from, 4 cents to $4, just under, I guess roughly 10,000% run. You don't get these. This kind of run is once every few years, if that. Where I got caught up, and let's try to like psychoanalyze where I got caught up, because there's so many indicators here. There's so many factors that I think brewed this kind of disaster for me. Okay. Number one, I think this day here being a big 6-figure day started it. And what do I mean by that? Before going into the day, like before this day, if we just delete these days, right? Okay. I'm up $160,000 on the month. A very good start, right? Already a $7,000 month first week, and then $100,000 day in the third week to then put myself up 160. Okay. Really good start. And not only was it a good start, but again, part of the greed of always kind of wanting more is this wasn't enough. And what I mean by that is not that it wasn't enough in terms of money. I'm never going to knock $100,000. That's incredible. I was super stoked to have a day like this. It wasn't enough in terms of what I think the market offered, and I felt like I underperformed, right? We're not talking about actual dollars here. We're just talking about how well I think I could have done in terms of points, right? Kind of remove the idea of money of it for a second. Let's think about just how well this was, okay? And I'll give you examples. So mainly that $100,000 day was from AMC and GME, okay? The big huge gap days were, AMC gapped up to 10 or whatever it was there, and GME gapped up to 60, right? These two top days was the 6-figure day. Now, the days after, which are technically the first red days, right? I know these were red candles, but they were huge gap ups, and they still closed a big gap up. These next red days where they went down another 30, 40%, if you look at the day, I was red. I lost money that day. That, I think, is what infuriated me, because when you look at like a first red day that AMC offered, it was incredible. The fact that it even was in pre-market anywhere near 8 was a gift. And again, I didn't wake up until here when the sell-off was all over. And that's kind of normal for me. That's fine. It's just from the mere fact that I can't help but I knew how ideal these plays were, and yet I ignored the idea of waking up early, right? Which is just silly. I really, really should have considered it. And then and it's not even the fact that I missed these entries up here. That's fine. Even getting short here, which I did actually do on AMC, I did it with like a fourth size I would have wanted. Okay. And it faded. They kept bleeding. Even now, they're lower, right? GME as well. We're tens of dollars a share lower. And so just the amount of opportunity I think these offered and how much I did not capture them, I think underlyingly frustrated me. And I didn't really realize it or acknowledge it at the time, but I understand that definitely was festering because I pretty much wanted to take that out on FFIE. I thought to myself, you know what? I missed, I think, the biggest of the moves or the most profitable of the moves on these two big names. But no worries, there's FFIE, which is super ideal, already gone from, 4 cents to $1. This is going to be a really good one, right? And one more thing to show you what I mean by making me feel like I haven't captured this move. Last time AMC and GME run, particularly AMC, if we go back to 2021, this run right here, right? AMC going from, pretty much, I guess they did a reverse split, but this was from, I think let's just do from 50 to 320. I think the high here was $80. So it went from like $5 to 80 or $10 to 80, whatever it was. Either way, this entire period, this week and a half or so time frame, I made $250,000 on just AMC alone. Okay, if we go back, right, well, this was May and June of 2021, right? So let's just show you. We go back here, 2021, right, May and June. You see massive. I guess it was the first week of June, right? $250,000 in just this week. Okay, one of my best weeks of my career, and then that was 3 years ago. That was me having probably 60% less money than I do have now. That was me having probably 60% less experience than I do have now. And so to be given that level of opportunity, not only in terms of volatility, but also in terms of the exact same tickers years later, upset me. When I can reflect on it now, I'm upset that festered, because, one day I'm making 100, which is great. But last, 3 years ago when it happened, I was doing multitudes better. Like it should be a full 180. It shouldn't be multitudes better 3 years ago. I should be multitudes better right now. Like this should have been a multi 6-figure week, right? And maybe I'm being too hard on myself. I understand I can't, you're not going to be perfect by any means, but it just, it didn't sit well with me. So with that being said, we go into FFIE here, and I come out on Thursday morning wanting to be extremely aggressive. And I even said it in the chat room. I said, like, this is a 6-figure opportunity. And it was, and it still is. It just, timing is everything. And so, and again, because I did not wake up early enough on AMC, right? If we go back, right, I didn't wake up early enough to catch, this gap up in pre-market, right? All of this action here to get a really good average. I decide for whatever reason that FFIE and AMC are similar, and so I should be waking up early too. So I literally woke up right when pre-market started. Like I've never woken up that early to start trading. I've maybe woken up that early to like exit positions if it's ever dangerous or stuff like that, but never to physically wake up and then start trading from the get-go. And that's exactly what I did. The worst part about it, and I think another factor, is that it was weak. Pre-market and leading into the open, it touched red green. Red green was 70 cents. It literally went red for a fraction of a second, fraction of a penny. And I thought to myself, that's great. Like this is it. This is going to die. This is going to pull back down to 40 cents today, and I'm going to make 6 figures. And frankly, before the open even happened, I was already full size, right? If we just go into like the actual trades, right? If we go in here, here's the two losses that was the bulk of it, right? Let's just look at it, show you the actual trades here. I am already, you can see here, I am already like shorting, then I'm covering some, then I'm reshorting. You notice there's no entries out the open. Why? Because I was literally already full size. I was full size like an hour before the open, well before an hour and a half. Absolutely ridiculous. I've never done that in my life. As big as I was, right? I had like 400,000 shares. Okay, I had like an 82 average or something ridiculous. Okay, and so when that happens, and then out the open, right? If we go into it, it dips to 75, holds like a champ, and starts testing 90 and breaking over 90. And frankly, when it started triple topping here in the 90s in pre-market, I thought to myself, if this gets back over 90 with the size I have in regular trading hours, like I do not like it. The risk level is probably $1 because again, it topped out at 98 cents twice, yesterday and in pre-market that day. But I just kept thinking to myself, this shouldn't even get back over 90. I remember telling myself, like, if this gets over 90, you got to cut. If this gets over 90, you got to cut. Not only do I have to cut, but I should be cutting because that's where my risk level is. That's not just in terms of not like a risk price of $1, but like a max loss, right? If you've watched enough of my videos and heard me talk about risk management, I have always pounded the table on having a max loss, whether that means you respect it or you have your broker take it out of your hands. And for me, I thought I was better than that. I thought I was more disciplined to that. And frankly, rightfully so. When I implemented a max stop going into 2023, I respected it all year long. Anytime that max loss was hit, I cut. I did it on my own terms. I did not need someone to take it out of my own hands, right? There were multiple times throughout 2023 where I did take losses, and they would have been much, much bigger had I not respected my max risk, which I did. I stopped out, right? The most recent example I remember is AMC in November, right? Right here, this day, right? I was approaching 50K in losses that day, and so I said, nope, I'm done. And so I took a 44K loss, and I walked away, right? And so that should have been the no ifs, ands, or buts. When it broke over 90, I was already down over 40 grand, just to put into perspective how big of size I had, right? And so did I cut? No. For the first time since implementing that rule, I did not cut. I stayed stubborn. I stayed overly convicted, which we'll talk about in a bit. And then borderline, once it broke over $1, I was down, pretty much over 80 grand. And at that point, the heels had dug in, the stubbornness had dug in, and I didn't cover a single thing, right? If we look at that trade, you can see here, right? This move, is this move right here, right? I didn't cover a single thing. You can see that. I didn't cover it until pretty much this bounce back. And then I fully covered it over the 120 level, which you can see that here, right? Okay. And so once I did that first trade, I mean, gosh, I don't even remember, but it was well over 120, 150 grand loss already, right off the bat. And so this is multitudes bigger than a 50K max stop. Okay, so lesson is, and this is why it hurts so bad, I mean, for me personally, is because, again, I thought I had the discipline. I thought I was better than that. But I'm not. You know, I've always accepted that I'm human, obviously, but like I'm beyond that, right? I truly realize now no matter how well I think I can be disciplined, the reality is I have to give it up to someone else's hands, which is a broker, right? Someone who isn't emotionally tied to any given trade thesis or reasoning to being in a stock, okay? And the reason why I say that is because FFIE, and the reason why I'm being so aggressive is because FFIE is literally and arguably the worst stock in the stock market. Now, what do I mean by that? One, it's 4 cents, okay? Two, they're at 4 cents because they've diluted the living hell out of their stock. You know, excuse my French, but this stock was never at $4,000 a share. They have continually done offerings and dilute further and further and further, and then reverse split and dilute further and further and further over and over and over again, okay? Not only that, the company hasn't filed an earnings report in over like 6 to 8 months, okay? They actually have gotten, if you go to like let's go to like, here, I have that already, actually, I was looking at it earlier. If you go to like BAM SEC and then type in FFIE here, you know, they've now filed 2 late filings for their earnings. They've pretty much told the SEC or whoever they have to file to, I guess, which is the SEC, that, hey, you know, we haven't done our earnings reports in over 2 quarters now, and we're just going to keep filing them. We're just going to keep letting you know we're doing them late. Not only that, they've been given a delisting notice for said reason, right? If you don't file your earnings fast enough or on time, you get threatened of getting delisted. Okay. Not only that, because they were at 4 cents, they got another delisting notice for not being over 10 cents. Okay. So this company is on the verge of zero. Not only that, they need an insane amount of cash. If you go to like dilution tracker, okay, you type in FFIE, and again, this is where conviction kills. Unfortunately, I have to log in and it doesn't say how much it was. I have to log in another account, but they have negative cash. They are at zero. They have to dilute like immediately. And again, they can't dilute until they file earnings. So it's a lose-lose for them. They either announce earnings, or they either release their earnings so that they can do another offering and dilute further down, or they never release their earnings and then they get delisted. Either way, it's a lose-lose for them, right? And again, you hear it in my voice. I'm still convicted about that idea. The problem is, again, it doesn't matter how convicted I am. Timing is everything, right? Timing is everything. And I couldn't have been more off on the timing, right? You know, no one cared. Everyone who was buying up the stock, everyone else who was getting squeezed like I was, no one cares that they're going to get delisted. No one cares that they have zero cash and need cash immediately, right? No one is thinking about that. All they're thinking about is the price action in front of them, and I chose to ignore it. And I chose to fight it. So that's where, you know, conviction and too much conviction can kill. On top of the fact of feeling like, you know, again, I need to nail something because I didn't nail GME and AMC as much as I wanted to, right? And so then if we just continue the trades, I mean, I immediately start reshorting again, cut it over the highs. I think at this point, there was another 40 or 50K loss. Reshort the parabolic, which again, this is stupid. It was way early. Like obviously I'm first starting shorting in the, you know, 150 or 160s, 180s. And then it goes to 230, you know, it was down another 50K at the top there. Then I add more size on the backside. I end up being up like 60 or 70K at the lows. But again, when it pulls back from 230 to 120, I'm thinking like, okay, that's the top. That's it. Gives us a bounce, fails the bounce. I think even in after hours, I think even more confirmation. Okay, this is going to just fade off into the 130s, 140s in after hours. We're going to open up on a gap down and we're going to just flush it under $1 and it's all going to be all right. Again, meanwhile, the fact that I'm even trading this at all is broken our rules. Like again, when you take a max stop, and for me it was over 50K, like you stop. You're done. But yet, not only did I not cut out the stop out there, I then let it go bigger, and then I kept trading it, right? And then the last hour or two of after hours, it kind of kept grinding back. I remember telling myself, I'm like, if this doesn't close, under 160, 170-ish, I can't risk holding this overnight because God forbid this thing gaps up above these highs. My accounts will be gone. I remember telling myself that. So that's the one blessing in this, even though as bad as it is, that the fact that in my saving grace, the fact that I fought as much as I did here, the reality is I finally knew when to let in and give up, and that was right here, right? Because had I not, right, let's just go into the chart, because you all know, I'm sure you all know what happened. It gapped up over 100%, right? It would close at 160, at the highs of pre-market was at $3. So not entirely 100%, but like 80 or 90%, okay, right? If I had held this loss of 380,000, this would have been probably approaching $1 million, right? And I don't have $1 million in my accounts. Okay, so as embarrassed as I am about it all, I am also thankful that I got out when I did, because it could have been so much worse. It could always be worse, right? Doesn't mean it's okay. You can hear my voice. I'm still embarrassed and just kind of taken back by my lack of rule following here. But it is what it is, and I've lived to fight another day. Obviously, my year has been cut in half. But again, at the same time, don't be all boohoo, poor you, Kyle. Like, I don't want that, nor did you should even be giving it to me. Because again, I'm still having a very, again, in terms of real money, like, again, separate from the actual game of trading and just look at the money. I could stop trading for the rest of the year. And this would be a top 1% year among, the entire world of Earth earners. Okay. So, it's not boohoo, poor you, Kyle. Oh, I hope you're okay. Like, I'll be all right, right? If we go to like my overall P&L, this is a hard pull, but in the grand scheme of things, it's just a blip, Obviously, in the short term, I feel awful. I feel terrible. I haven't been able to stop thinking about and how I'm going to improve and move forward from this point on. But I know and trust long term, this pull is no different than these two that I had in 2022, right? And you can almost see that in the charts. Like, look at the short term. Look at this is just my 2024 year to date. This pull looks ugly, looks awful, giving back half your year, just getting cut in half, just like that. But then you look at over my whole career, and yeah, it sucks, but I'm going to be okay. I just need to make sure I don't repeat this mistake ever again, and I think I'm going to be able to do that. And so, anyways, that was one trade, right? If we go here again, that was just one. Okay, that was this one. That was this one. The big one, the big 240,000, okay? And then it was at Centerpoint, again, my main and biggest broker. I have a little bit other money in Cobra. And so if you look at that one, same thing. But this one was a little bit even worse because I had less size on this one. I felt I could be even more stubborn and aggressive. And so same idea, took the same pre-market entries, was still full size all by pre-market. But unlike the Centerpoint trade where you saw me cutting, at least cutting, at least I was cutting losses here. I didn't cut till way higher actually I didn't even cut. I think I downsized at 150 and I still had shares on and then I added it back here. Just absolute ridiculousness. And then again, didn't do anything. And then the same cover I had at Centerpoint, I finally covered it here as well. Just throwing in the towel, realizing I can't afford to take it any further. And so that was another, $150,000 loss. So it sucks. It's like looking back, I wish I took a max stop loss of 50K. Like, are you kidding me? Let's just go, let's play it out. Instead of negative 380, just do negative 50K. Just accept the loss right when it went over 90 cents in the morning. Just accept it. Like, it's a night and day result. And this is where it's even more frustrating, and this is where like it adds insult to injury. Because I took such a big loser, right? Because what happened on this day is such a scarring kind of event. The ability or the opportunity to then try to capture this move is just not there, right? Yes, I am still short. I did, if you were in the chat room on Friday, I did finally mention I'm short in the twos here for kind of a swing trade, because now it's like when you look at this trade, when you look at this idea in this daily chart, this is the thesis that I had of it getting A being delisted or A or B doing more offerings or more dilution. this is the timing you wanted. Okay, this is where now the timing is on your side, and now it's time to be patient, maybe a little bit of convicted, not on the front side, right? After this drops, from 4 down to 1 in an afternoon, this to me is 99% chance it's dead. Yeah, I could come back, and yeah, if it gets over like the mid twos, I'll probably cut my loss because there's a lot of resistance levels up in here. But there's just so many bag holders now. There's so much resistance that now is the time for me to be patient. So at least I'm following through on that idea that I think the timing here is now finally correct. But again, we'll see. I could be dead wrong again, but it's already pulled off an insanely black swan move. The thought of it getting back over 4 would shock me. It's not impossible. I'm not going to rule it out, but it's going to have to get over 2 and the 2 low 2s first for me to even think it twice. But yeah, so had I not taken this disastrous of a day, how prepared I probably would have come in today to possibly nail this move, yeah, I guess I technically was short for some of this. I was kind of shorting, in the 290s and covering here, but like I had already taken losses, over 3 in the morning as well. Now, thankfully, it was way smaller. I had taken, a tenth of the size that I took yesterday. So me stopping out, over here was not nearly as bad. And I made that back here, and so now I'm break even with the swing, and I'm up on the swing. But and again, maybe it's too much hindsight bias here, but it's just incredible to me. Had I just stepped out of the way and waited for something of confirmation, which in this case, and I actually remember it clear as day, finally holding under VWAP. And unfortunately, the charts aren't showing a VWAP right now. But if you remember this day, it was over VWAP the entire day, guys. The entire day. I don't think it even tapped it or touched it. VWAP was like here. It was like this. It was just following it, never touching it, going up. And then I think it barely, maybe almost touched it at 220 or 120 here. And then was just like closing up here. It didn't even think about going under, okay? It went under a little bit more in the morning, so maybe I would have taken a loss no matter what. If I had not taken a trade here, I probably still would have taken a loss on it here. But this move right here, for those who could pull up the charts with me on this one and look at where VWAP was, it finally cracked VWAP here, recovered, cracked it again, and then VWAP was like 301, 302, and finally, for the first time in almost the entire run-up since it started squeezing huge, it held under VWAP, right? It finally became resistance. Long buyers and whoever else was buying it and playing this stock finally felt underwater, and they got scared for the first time in the entire run-up, okay? And then that's when it died. You're right. You don't need to be short in the top. I don't need to be short from 350, 390, from 4, right? You get short at 290s, you risk whatever level you want, and you can still get another dollar plus of downside. Okay? That's, I think, not the biggest slap in the face, but just the biggest, like, Kyle, you were so dumb if you could just be patient enough, right? And so I don't mean to beat myself up by all means, again, it happens. I just have such high standards that I know I'm better than that. Right. And then not only this, because it's a downward spiral, like I said, because this happened and how badly this happened, there was so much opportunity elsewhere that I just did not capture it, or did not take advantage. CRKN, right? As normally, if you've been around the markets long enough, when something like FFIE goes from 4 cents to $4, you start getting a lot of sympathies, okay? CRKN was one of them. CRKN, I did actually make money on this parabolic. I did short it up here in like the 48 level, did end up covering it at like the 28, 29 level. Made some money. That's cool. That's awesome. Again, doesn't make a difference on the fact of how my day ended up, but I did make some money there, so that was cool. But again, didn't even think about longing it at all, really. I mean, maybe I tried to scalp it and then failed miserably because I'm just overly emotional at this point. But so many runners. I mean, this is just one. There was, what was it, GWAV? Was another one? Massive mover. If we go down here, let's go back to like a 5-day, right? From the long side, I mean, some of these were such incredible gappers, such good gappers, right? And I just didn't even think about playing them because I was too enwrapped in my losses over here. Sierra Can, even on the next day, on this day, took a loss this day. incredible breakdown, just as good of a breakdown as FFIE, if not better, because usually the sympathies offer way easier and less volatile trades. They're not less volatile, less risky trades than the main leader, which was FFIE. I lost money today on CRKN. All right, if we go into the trade, if I show you here, where is it? CRKN. I titled it CRKN and I blew it. Because if you go here, CRKN, shorted too early, covered for a loss, reshorted, and then just chopped myself up. I know this doesn't look too bad, but this is like taking 2 or 3 extra losers when I didn't need to. All I had to do was trust my plan that it wasn't going to break over this 50 level. It never even touched my entry after I shorted. I could have just held through these pops the whole time, and it would have rolled over red-green and down to 20 cents. I would have made 20, 30 grand had I just stuck to a long-term patience idea. And frankly, you might say, oh, okay, well, Kyle, hindsight bias here too. But honestly not. You want to know why? Because after this died, again, it rejected VWAP the entire time. The entire time it's doing this, FFIE is still strong, right? FFIE at this point is up at the 4s. So the sympathy play is clearly deviated from the leader. It is significantly weaker from the leader. It's not even following the leader anymore, right? It's died. It's clearly showing its hand. Yet I am chopping myself up, thinking it's going to come back, or do. I don't even know what I'm thinking. I can't sit still and just trust the trade plan because I'm too flustered with what on earth has gone on this week, right? Another trade, ACAN, which I did make money on, but again I didn't execute well enough. Was a massive opportunity. Why? Because not only did it go parabolic, but then once it was done going parabolic, they put out an offering, and the offering was at 10 cents, and it was still at 40 cents after the offering. I mean, you couldn't ask for a bigger inefficiency. And did I short it? Yes. But did I short it with huge size? No. I made 10 grand on this trade, which again is not nothing. I'm not going to knock 10 grand. But had I not been flustered, had I not been overly, just like taken back from this kind of just a situation, this could have been one of the biggest, easiest trades in anyone's career. Anyone who was prepared, anyone who saw the offering, which wasn't hard to do. I mean, I took very small size here just because it was a parabolic. And then I added and I covered that parabolic, and then I realized they offered, so I reshorted, and I'm covering at 25 cents here. Why am I doing that? The offering was 10 cents. By the end of the day and after hours, I hit 10 cents. Like it's not rocket science. The offering's at 10 cents. You could be patient enough for 10 cents for a few more hours. I don't know why I covered. Not only that, I don't know why I didn't take insanely more size. I shorted maybe 50K shares. For some people that's a lot, obviously, but for me, shorting 50,000 shares at 40 cents is a $20,000 position. I had a $400,000 position of FFIE. Like what? Like you tell me which one's easier to short or which one's safer to short. The leader that's squeezing everyone and their mother out of their minds, or the one that just did an offering and is telling you where it's going to go, which is 10 cents. Like I should have 400,000 shares of ACAN here. Not the other way around. And again, it's just because I'm flustered. It's because when you lose so much like this, right? Your emotional, your mental state's off, your emotional state's off, your risk management state's off. And so, I'm glad to be green, right? I'm glad to not have doubled or increased this bleeding, but like it's just where, again, like I say, it's insult to injury. It's just the opportunity that was presented itself for anyone who didn't get screwed over, didn't step in front of FFIE, had a massive opportunity to crush it. And so I think that's what's lingering in my brain of like, oh, damn it. Like it's such a downward spiral. Now, the one thing I want to keep caution of is that just because I may have now missed all this opportunity, not only did I miss it, but it actually hurt me more than helped me, obviously. I do not want to make the mistake of now feeling the same way I felt about GME AMC, right? Say I didn't execute as well as I want to do on GME AMC, caused this. I do not want to realize that causing this is going to keep me downward spiraling. No matter how badly I want this money back, no matter how badly I want a redo and to go back in time, the reality is it can't happen. It's over. It's in the past. It's gone. It's done. I have to accept that. And the one easy way to accept that, or to help me accept that, is the fact that, there will be more opportunity. Maybe it won't be as big. Maybe it won't be as grand. But if there's anything that's going to keep the opportunities flowing this summer, it's this kind of volatility. right? I may have lost money and screwed it up, but you know how many people who are, call it dumb money retailers or Redditors or Wall Street bettors who have made money? A lot of them. And if it's anything like COVID was, in terms of just the inflow of money that people have made now from these moves, it lasts for a good amount of time. And so and it doesn't mean it has to. Everyone who made money can pull out of their money out of their accounts and go live their lives. But if you know how the human nature works, no one and very few people can walk away from the casino when they're up. Very few. And so the stock market's the same way. I imagine a lot of people who've made a lot of money are not going to think it's over, and they're going to want to keep trading, and that's when they're going to give it all back. And likely people who are prepared and can stay, grounded like I'm trying to do, can execute on those opportunities when they come. So that's what I'm optimistic for. That's what I'm hoping for going into the next few months here, and hopefully can recover and, be back at all-time highs on my career and on the year. Okay. So yeah, I don't know if I'm missing anything of the analysts on this trade that I would have thought about the last couple of days. I'm sure more will come, and if I do, I'll happily share it. If you have any questions, we can always talk about the next webinar. But yeah, guys, it's just, it's just not okay. In terms of like, what am I changing? Obviously, max broker stop loss. I have to let my broker know, hey, if you see my unrealized get to this level, like, you need to take me out. You have to. I can't leave it in my own hands. Beyond that, I think I need to further redefine my risk management even more. And I kind of always known I've struggled with this. I haven't found an exact solution, but now I know I need to, which is, just because I was risking a max stop loss on FFIE, right? I knew in a perfect world, I knew had this gone over 90 cents, I should have stopped out and taken the 50K loss or whatever it was. But I shouldn't, doesn't mean I have to. Like, just because the max stop number is there does not mean I ever need to risk that much. It's just so silly, right? I just let greed get the best of me and think, okay, if my 50 is my max, let's risk all 50 because I think that plays that good. That should not how it should be. 50K for me, if that's not my max stop, should be the end all be all. It should be, okay, you are clearly tilted. You are clearly making a mistake. Let me get out of you for yourself. Like, if I'm the broker speaking, right? It should never be a risk I'm willing to take on a trade. Right. And so what that means for me is that I need to figure out a level that I never go over, and maybe it's a percent, right? Because I got to 50K because roughly that's around 10% of how I usually like my accounts. Because I like trading with $500,000 in an account or more, and so 50K is why that number exists, and it's why I can handle that kind of thing. But that doesn't mean that if I'm with a plus opportunity in front of me that I should be risking 50K. It should be like 20, 25 max, maybe 30, maybe. Again, in the future, if I ever want to increase that, if I ever think I'm ready to accept 40 or 50K risk, well, then I need to reconsider what it would be like to increase my max stop. Because I can't have them be both. They're two completely separate things for two completely different scenarios or outcomes or situations and contexts. They can't be the same. I think there's a huge factor that crushed me here on FFIE was the fact that, I was facing a max loss, and so by the time when it was time to face it, I didn't want to accept it because I didn't think I needed to be wrong, or I didn't want to be wrong so quickly. So yeah, this has been a long video. Hopefully you've learned something. I know I have. It's going to be some time, right? Time heals all wounds, and I as much as I want to move on and get right back to it, I still feel a bit defeated. Now, granted, again, I am still on the horse. I am I'm not clearly defeated, as I am still shorting this and still staying short. In terms of where I think this goes, there's two scenarios. One, it just keeps on fading. This obliteration of a backside just continues, and this will be at 50 cents, if not lower, within the next couple of days. Or there is some kind of secondary strength, and this can somehow bounce into the one. And I guess I don't even know what level, but there's so many levels of resistance now. There's 150, there's like 170, 180, there's like $192. There's like this 236 level. There's this 250 level. There's 3. I mean, there is half a dozen to a dozen levels now that I think it's almost nearly impossible for the stock to get back over. I'm not going to say impossible because it can. I'm not going to rule that out. But again, if there's a time to be patient, this is it. Not this. This. So we'll see what happens. If it does bounce, I am very open to adding. I don't have nearly as much as I think I can afford to have on, given the idealness now that we are backside and this is likely a zero. Again, if price action changes and convinces me otherwise, I will listen to that. I will not fight it like I did here. And yeah. So thanks for watching, guys, if you made it this long. Thanks, everyone, for the kind words who have reached out. Again, by no means do you need to feel sorry for me. By sharing, I'm not at all asking for that. Again, we're A-okay. We're just fine, right? Big picture, we're A-okay. Shouldn't part of me feels like I shouldn't even have to be mourning or feeling the way I'm feeling, just because life is still great and good. But I can't deny the fact that just how I handled it sucks. So, anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Enjoy your weekend. Prepare and learn from this and how you maybe handled this week as well. And let's get better together for next week. So thanks so much.